So I think if you accept that, you can then start to build structures that the two things can support each other. So I think the professional side of things can support social music by creating contexts for that social music to take place in. And it's actually a very powerful tool for doing that, because social music making is all about critical mass. You need a certain number of people in a particular defined space with a shared understanding of the kind of music that they want to make. And the professional scene can really facilitate that. It can kind of put that kind of critical mass of people in one place. On the flip side, the social music scene can actually provide the professional music scene with a USP, basically, because that's the thing that folk music can do better than other kinds of music. It can provide social music contexts. So if we can kind of bring things two together, then I think both sides will help. So just to give you more specific examples, I'm going to relate it to a couple of things in my own experience. To some extent, these have been deliberate attempts to try and achieve that particular aim. The main thing, I suppose, is after-show sessions, which we've tried in a few different guises. The first instance of that was my band, Remnant Kings, and Terry mentioned the Folks on a Day project that I did, and we toured around that and tied the tour to that project. And after every gig, and we're talking about art centres, we played here and similar size art centres, we would then, at the end of the gig, which is quite a showy gig, I don't know if any of you have seen the Remnant Kings, but it is quite a showy gig. It's not showy in the way that Bellahead's showy, but it's, we have a lighting designer, we have sound effects coming out of wax cylinder players. I don't do a lot of chats, it's quite intense. So at the end of that quite intense thing, we would then say, and now we're going to go downstairs and have a bit of a sing. And so, and we would go down to the bar, ideally, and we would sit around and sing some songs in a circle, audience around us, inviting audience members to sing songs. We would join in, maybe just half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever. And that worked extremely well. I think it was a real, because it almost allowed us to be showy and presentational in our performance, because we were then kind of doing some proper folk music at the end, if you like, or some proper social music. We've also done it with Bellahead, slightly different with Bellahead, because we've got kind of 2,000 people in the audience to deal with, so we can't kind of go to the bar and sing with them. So what we've done for a couple of tours now is tweet that we are going to go to a pub after the gig, and then just go along to the pub and play some tunes and sing some songs, and hopefully 100 or so people will turn up. We've had a few where about 500 people turn up. That didn't work so well. But anyway, so it's an interesting thing, and it's worked brilliantly sometimes. That's one sort of thing that we've tried that I think works. That sort of performer-led social music initiation, if you like. I think there's a lot of ways in which venues can initiate social music. In a small way, we run a folk club. Faye Peels and myself run a folk club just over in Dungworth, near Sheffield. And we've tried a few things out there. We've got the structure for that is that we put the show on pretty early, so that we finish at 10, and then we have a singing session from 10 sometimes till midnight. And we invite the booked artists to hang around for that and be a part of the singing session. And that seems to work quite well, because you've got this kind of professional thing going on that brings people in, but then you're creating a context for hopefully genuine social music at the end, which I think is quite different to having an act perform and then kind of putting some people in within that act and getting them to perform. That seems to me not quite the same thing as creating social music. The other thing we do is we have a fixed repertoire of songs at the club, and this is very much focused at people who haven't been a part of the folk scene for the last 40 years and therefore don't know the Larks They Sang Melodies. There's an awful lot of people in this country who have never heard the Larks They Sang Melodies. So if you were trying to bring people into the folk scene, you can't assume that there's this shared kind of knowledge. So what we've done, and it's worked pretty well, is we've picked 10 songs. We put them down in a book and we sing them every week, and it's not perfect because you've got people reading words off bits of paper, which is a little bit like a prayer meeting, but it's, you know, it's kind of building, and gradually people are memorising it, and you know, gradually it's kind of getting greater volume and all that sort of stuff. The other thing we do very quickly is we have it in a public bar. So we don't go off into a function room and do it, we just have it in the public bar. We sell tickets for the seats in advance online, but people can just wander in and out. And there is background noise, and a lot of people find that, you know, to be anathema, but my view is, if you want social music, it's got to be in a social context, and that means you can have some background noise.